Hi guys, it's Kelly back again with another video for Newton's Nook. So today we're going to be using some actual Christmas products and also this Starfield stencil that we used last week, just basically so I could show you that I didn't ruin the stencil. It still totally works. So the two stamp sets I'm using are going to be the Christmas Delivery and Santa PAWS. Sometimes you guys ask if I actually use anything to stick down my stencils. I've showed this in my videos before. I use Tombow Mono multi-glue because it dries repositionable, and I just this one's really big, so I just made big swirlies all over the back. That's enough to stick it down and hold it down. I'm working on Neenah 80-pound solar white cardstock. I'm going to stamp down this little Santa Paws here with this list. And I thought that was totally cute to pair with the Christmas Delivery, which is Newton and his little buddy in the sleigh with all the gifts, just kind of being a little bit mischievous, I think, which I'm always a big fan of. So while Santa's checking the list, these two are in there pawing the presents. I think it's a totally cute idea. It's going to be a one-layer card. Surprise, no surprise. And so I'm putting my masks down. I'm using a little bit of the 3M Post-it tape. This strip, I've just basically cut into some general hill shapes. I just faked it with my scissors just because I didn't want it to be a flat background. Again, seen this color combination before. If you watched the video from the other day, you've seen this because I told you I'm currently obsessed with it. Now this time around, I did actually add some black soot in so that the top would be much darker. But so I'm starting with Salty Ocean because my coloring usually takes just forever. I don't ever really get to talk to you guys about any of the other things that I do, and maybe I have tips on those things, but I don't really get to share them because I want you to see the coloring. I know that's what most of you are here for, and also, as of late, possibly the voiceovers. So basically what I do, my distress inking, I cover the whole thing with the Salty Ocean. The reason I do is because it is a brighter blue and Copics mixed together. Then I went in with Blueprint Sketch, and I didn't cover up the Salty Ocean all the way. I brought it down part of the way, then to Chip Sapphire, and then the last color will be the Black Soot. Now, you're probably going to notice at this juncture, this background looks terrible. I mean, it's not even well blended. It's kind of blotchy. And typically, I'm going to put the stencil on now. But before if you use the Tombow Mono multi-glue, you just want to like press it on your hand a couple of times to make sure it's not too sticky. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back through all the same colors that we just did. So it's a tone on tone background. Because this stencil is so large, the cutout areas are not that big. A lot of the ink sat on top. And because of that, when I did my next color, it picked up that ink. So the little stars ended up being darker than I anticipated, but happy accident because it looked amazing. Back to the blending. The reason that when you see me do the ink blending, it looks like blotchy and not so good. And then when you see the end result, it looks much better, is because I always do this twice. I don't show it to you twice because I feel like half of you don't even want to watch it the first time. Ink blending has been around a really long time. Most of you know what you're doing with it, but I always show it because I don't want you to miss anything. So if you're new or if you're advanced, intermediate, wherever you're at, I want you to be able to see the card from start to finish because that's how I prefer to watch videos. So I sprinkled a little bit of clean clear water on the background just to kind of break that up. I'm not working on watercolor paper. Use minimal moisture or your paper will warp. Also, paper masks, people, water soaks through paper. Then I'm using Perfect Pearls. Again, if you've been here, I don't know, anytime in the last 3 months, this is not shocking news to you. But I don't care because it's pretty. It's so pretty. I love the Perfect Pearls. And I'm all about the pretty factor. So I'm going to go ahead and start removing the masks now. I love the way that the sky came out because basically I'm obsessed with this color background. So why would I not love the way that it came out? Right? Right. And then we're going to do Copic coloring. Except we're going to do Copic coloring a little differently than we normally do. I am only using 2 color blends. Now, if you've been here before, you know that typically I use 4 color blends. But I don't know. I guess I just feel like a lot of people that can be overwhelming for them. Now, that is the preferred way for me to color, but it doesn't have to be the way that everybody colors. And if you're not comfortable using multiple colors, Or if you just don't have the funds to invest in that many colors, which I was there, you know, I've built my collection up slowly. I wanted you to show you that you could still get beautiful results. So this is what we're doing. And I have to tell you, it was a challenge for me because I'm so used to what I know, but ultimately still happy with the way the card turned out. So anyway, I'm going in and I'm doing all of my white first. The reason being, the lighter colors will pick up darker colors, and Christmas time has a lot of white and red, and I am not trying to drag that red through my white, especially not when I'm only using 2 colors, because I won't have any darker color to cover it up with. So I'm just going to go through here. When you're coloring objects white, you want to make sure that you're leaving white. We're only coloring in the shadows. I was very light-handed with the colors that I chose for the C3 and the C1. I decided there's these 2 cute little mice that are helping Santa Paws check his list twice. And so I decided I was going to make them a little bit of a darker gray. I'm going to end up changing this at the end just because I felt like they didn't really... They weren't really adding anything to the scene. And that was my fault for the way that I colored them. So again, adding just one layer of shading here, guys. That's all we got to go on. And it was a challenge, but I think that was just my own fault, just my own. For the reds, I wish I would have picked 2 colors that were a little bit farther apart. I picked an R35 and an R29 because I wanted it to be bright red. I wish I would have gone with the R29 and the R59 because it would have given me that contrast that I felt like it was missing. Or maybe an R05 and an R29. Well, R05 is pretty orange. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. I picked 2 colors that were too close together. Not that it doesn't have any dimension, but I could have done more by making a better decision with the colors that I used. So, since most of you come here for story hour, today I went and my little baby had, he's not a little baby anymore, and isn't that just heartbreaking? But he had his Thanksgiving feast, and they did like a little program beforehand. And so I knew that they were learning little songs and dances for their program. And I had asked my son, you know, if he was having fun learning his little song and dance. And he said, I'm not learning that. And I was like, but it says here on the itinerary that your teacher sends to me every week that you are. And he goes, oh, no, everybody else is learning that, but I'm not doing it. This is my 4-year-old child. I'm not doing it. And my husband has a very shy personality, you know, opposites attract and all that stuff, because I'm certainly not shy. But so my son has definitely has his father's personality. And so I was nervous because I'm like, oh, they're going to put him on stage. There's going to be people looking at him. Like, is my poor little baby going to be traumatized? Is he going to run off stage crying? You know, what's the situation going to be? So, but he did tell me that he wasn't going to participate. That's what he told me. So today, we are very blessed that we live close to my family, to my husband's family. We're kind of like our own little commune. And so my parents are there. My husband's parents are there. Me and my husband, for this program, all these parents sit down in this auditorium and they start bringing in the kids, and they're coming in single file. I'm sitting on the end, you know, because I'm that mom and I want to take all the pictures and everything else. So they're sending the kids in single file. My son, my little peanut, starts coming down the aisle and he makes eye contact with me and he looks like he is about to cry. And I am heartbroken. And I'm like, you know, it's okay, buddy. He comes over to me in the aisleway. I give him, you know, a hug and a kiss, tell him, you know, it's going to be fine. It's going to be good. Send him on his little way down the aisle. And in the meantime, like my heart's in my throat because I'm just like terrified for what is going to go on here. So they get up on stage and they're singing their song. I got a gratitude attitude. It's all cute. They're patting their little legs and clapping along. Well, they all are, except for my kid. Yep, because he said he wasn't going to do it, folks, and he meant it. He was committed. He made a decision that he was not going to participate, and he didn't. Now, he just basically stood there and he smiled and kind of laughed, but he did not sing along, and he definitely did not do any of the dancing. So then the next portion of it, which I'm like, okay, that's fine. Each kid's different. We're not going to force him to do things that he doesn't want to do. He's up there. He's not actively participating, but hey, whatevs. We're moving on with life. So they're up there, and then I see the teacher passing out little signs to them. And I'm like, oh gosh, do they have speaking parts? Like, does he have to speak? I don't know if he's going to do it. And my husband's like, he is not going to do this. He's not going to do it. And I'm like, well, I don't know, because he really liked playing with my microphone at home, so maybe he will. So they start at one end. My child's on the other end. They're handing out this microphone, and all of these kids are just totally adorable. Like, if you want to see just sheer joy in a room, go see a child's show, play. It's so joyful. It just makes you smile, all of these sweet little faces. I couldn't help it. But anyway, so they're handing out the microphone, and these sweet little babies are saying what they're grateful for. I'm grateful for my mommy and daddy. I'm grateful for my baby sister. I'm grateful for my dog. All of these just like really sweet things. My child gets the microphone and he shouts into it. I couldn't make this up. Shouts into it. I'm grateful for driving in my dad's truck. I looked at my husband and I'm like, he's being raised by wolves. Like, like he could have said something totally much more embarrassing, but like, that's where my kid's head is at. He's glad that we own an F-150. That's what he's grateful for. I'm also grateful for it because it gets my husband, to a job where he makes the money, where we can have things and put food on the table. So I'm grateful for that as well. So maybe just expressed a little bit differently. But it was very, very cute. Everybody laughed. So maybe he's got a little stand-up comedy in his future. We'll see if he can get past the people staring at him. I never could. I'm a terrible public speaker. When I had to do speech class, we all had to do it. I would stand up there. I would talk at a rate of speech that is just not human. They would be like, write a 5 minute, you have to be up there for 5 minutes, do your 5-minute speech. And I would get up there and my speech would be done in like 1 minute and 30 seconds. Like, I just could not slow myself down. And so I learned if I had to be up there for 5 minutes, I actually had to write like a 15-minute speech, just to get through it. Now, as an adult, I have learned if I have to speak, it's much better for me to not write anything down, to just go up there and wing it. That's just what works for me and how I flow better, and make things more interesting or more engaging. I cannot read from a piece of paper. Also, I sweat. Oh my word. I sweat so much when I am up, and people are just looking at me. I'm just copious amounts of sweat pouring out of my body. Because I am so nervous and I don't like being the center of attention. In fact, when I got married, I remember, oh, funny. When I got married, it's me, everybody else has gone back. Me and my dad are standing there. My knee is just bouncing like a crazy person. I am very anxious. And, my dad's like, calm down. It's going to be good. And I was like, I don't want to go out there. I don't want to go out there. And my father, to his credit, which just goes to show you how wonderful my husband is, he's like, Craig's a good guy, Kelly. He loves you. You guys are going to have a wonderful life together, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, Daddy, I don't want to go out there, not want to go out there because I'm nervous about marrying Craig. I don't want to go out there because when I open those doors, all those people are going to look at me. Which my husband still gets a kick out of that story, that my dad was totally an advocate for him. Anyway, now that we're done with story hour, back to the card. So basically I went with really traditional colors here, and I wanted the presents to be fun and brightly colored, because that's how I like to wrap my gifts. One of the best things about Christmas now, having a 4-year-old, my husband and I both love Christmas. We always have. It's been a holiday, that we that's the only holiday we decorate for, and we did all these things or events for Christmas. But now having a child, Christmas is the best day ever. like seeing his little face when he wakes up in the morning, and Santa has come and eaten his cookies and left these wonderful gifts. It's amazing. It's just, it's such a wonderful thing just seeing his face on Christmas morning. I'm so, speaking of things that you're grateful for, I am so grateful for that. But I like to wrap gifts, probably maybe a little obnoxiously, because I like them to be just very pretty. And so that's what I was kind of going for here. I wanted them to be brightly colored and stand out. Especially with the darker night sky that we've got going on. And because we're only doing 2-layer shading, I wanted there to be something else. So I decided to do Santa's Sleigh Gold. I'm filling it in with a Y08, and I chose that one because it is so bright. It's just super in your face. And here's where I'm going to break the rules a little bit, just a wee bit. Because I did the shading with a E55 to make it look gold. So you have like the shiny portion in the center and then the darker gold hue on the outside edges. And I just was missing that dimension so much, just so much. So you can see I'm like, yeah, nope, I'm going to do it. I'm going to commit. So I didn't use any new colors. I actually used the E39 that I already had on my desk to just add that minimal amount of shading on the edges. I just felt like it really needed it. And ultimately I'm going to be mailing this card out to somebody and I wanted to be happy with the way that it looked. So you probably could achieve that kind of shading by continually, because Copics will build on each other. So if you just keep going over it with a darker color, you probably could have gotten that look. I just wasn't that committed. Way number 2, I broke the rules. I colored these mice gray. I told you I didn't feel like they fit the scene. I felt like they just were blending in. So I did pick a third color, which was an E55. It's a cooler brown to just color over the mice. I didn't do any additional shading. I just gave them a once over, but I really think it helped them kind of pop out from the background. I picked 2 BVs to do my shading for the snow, just to give them some ground to stand on. The only thing really to note here is the way that the scroll is. The scroll will still have a shadow, but the shadow is not going to be right up against it. It's going to be on the ground, not right up against the item that is in the air. So it's not going to not cast a shadow. It still will. It's just not going to be a close one. And then I added the shading, obviously, underneath the little sled. I extended that out a little bit so that it looked like it was maybe being pulled. Another way that you can kind of give your card a wow factor without having to do multiple colors of shading is to add detail work. So I'm using a white gel pen here to just add some detail to my gift. So I'm doing polka dots on one, diagonal stripes on another. I did one that was like quote unquote snowflakes, but was really just me drawing a bunch of asterisks. I did a plaid, and you can, if you own the souffle markers, which I love. I've owned those for quite a few years. Those come in colors, and so they're dry opaque, so you can use those as well. I outline the whole image with my EK Success journaling pen, and then I'm putting some clear Wink of Stella just on the white parts. Once all that was done, I'm going to go in and stamp my sentiment, which is just a super cute little Be Merry. It's hard to see in the video, but in real life, it really is legible. And then I just accented that with a couple of white Nuvo drops. I didn't use the sequin method. I just went in there, threw caution to the wind, and hoped that it worked out for me, and it did. So that's pretty much it. Don't feel like you have to, don't feel like you have to have all of the markers or do all of the shading, because ultimately, if I hadn't told you that I only used 2 markers, would you even have noticed? So just something to think about when you're going into your card making. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.